How does the senior deduction affect Roth conversions? Hi, it's financial planner Sean Mullaney. Let's discuss. And this video builds on Tuesday's video on my channel, and I encourage you to go watch that video first if you've not yet done that. That video posits a 66-year-old married couple, year 2025, and they're doing fine. They're living on mostly sales of taxable assets, triggers $85,000 of long-term capital gains. Their adjusted gross income is six figures. And oh, by the way, before year end, they do a $40,700 Roth conversion. And I asked in that video how much tax, federal income tax anyway, do they pay? And the answer is zero. And that's really interesting. I've got a tax computation that proves all that out. It's a combination of the high standard deduction, the senior deduction, the 0% long-term capital gains rate. It's very, very impactful. But that video sort of begs a question. And the question is this. Well, if they're not paying any federal income tax on a $40,700 Roth conversion, should they keep going? And what might the taxes look like maybe on the next 10,000 they convert, or maybe if they convert 20,000? And so I want to dig in this weekend on that. And the senior deduction, which is a major change that occurred this year because of the One Big Beautiful Bill, very much weighs in on that calculus. So I've done essentially in this video, we're going to go through version 2 and version 3. Version 2 is that same couple, all the same tax numbers, except they add $10,000 more in a Roth conversion. So not $40,700, it's now $50,700. And then version 3, we're going to go from $50,700 to $60,700 in a Roth conversion. And I think the results are very revelatory, and I think teach us a lot about tax planning for our mid to late 60s in today's environment. So if we do nothing, right, we're back to $54,000 of taxable income. Our adjusted gross income was $101,000. That's all well and good. But they now decide to do a Roth conversion prior to year end of $50,700. That increases the adjusted gross income above $150,000. That's important, to $151,700. And so the first thing that does is it actually reduces their senior deduction. So this is interesting to me. Going above that $150,000 threshold in adjusted gross income means we're now in senior deduction reduction territory. I should trademark that. I'm not going to. Senior deduction territory, $151,700. Now, it's not much, to be fair. In the first example, it is $12,000 senior deduction. Now it is $1,100, almost $11,796. So $204 come off. Not a huge issue, but it's hinting at what the future might hold if we keep doing Roth conversions. So our taxable income goes up to $105,000. And so mentally, I want you to stop and think, what's going to be the effective rate on the 10,000, right? Without the 10,000 Roth extra Roth conversion, we had zero federal income tax. What do you think the effective rate is now going to be when we add a 10,000 additional Roth conversion? Well, we're going to reveal that right now. Magic of the internet. Look at this. So it's almost $2,300 of federal income tax that's created by that additional $10,000 Roth conversion. And our effective rate on that additional Roth conversion is almost 23%. Now that's interesting to me. And I do have a tax computation. What we're seeing here is we still get a lot sheltered by the standard deduction, the additional standard deduction, and the senior deduction, but it's not quite as much as it was before. And so now we have $10,204 that are subject to the 10% bracket because we went above zero ordinary income because we have a $50,700 Roth conversion, and we reduced only slightly that senior deduction. The other thing we did is we pushed $8,500 and some change of long-term cap gains into the 15% tax bracket away from the 10% tax bracket. So is this a horrible, horrible outcome? No. But I think that effective rate's very telling. It's 23%. What are we trying to guard against in doing Roth conversions? Well, the married couple's alive, probably the 24% bracket. So, it's a little, it's not the end of the world to pay a 23% tax to avoid a 24% tax. And there could be widow issues, although not a lot of widows are going to be in the 32% bracket, but it absolutely can happen. So it still could be advantageous. But boy, we're slicing the margins real thin here. And I think the long-term trend of low taxes on retirees sort of argues against paying 23% for many retirees on a Roth conversion. But it's not the end of the world, to be fair, and reasonable people can disagree on that point. But let's push it further. What happens if we up that Roth conversion to $60,700? So we just add another $10,000 to our Roth conversion. And I think what you're going to start to see is that senior deduction is now really going to take a hit. That is the wrong senior deduction. I apologize. Here's our senior deduction. All right, so our senior deduction now is significantly sliced. It's down to $10,596. And again, if we keep doing these Roth conversions, we're going to keep slicing down that senior deduction. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. So when we think about what the taxes are going to be here, again, in your mind, right, last time it was almost 23%. Now what do you think the tax rate on this additional $10,000 by itself is going to be? And we reveal that right here. Look at this. The effective rate on that additional $10,000 is now 28%. So that second $10,000 looks a lot less attractive, right? It's going to be very hard for a married couple, even with a sizable IRA, to get to a 32% bracket. Like I said, it's certainly possible in a widow situation, but it's certainly not guaranteed. We're now paying 28 cents on the dollar on this additional $10,000 Roth conversion. And I think basically we're running up against three issues, right? We're pushing some of this Roth conversion, now $21,000, into the 10% bracket. And oh, by the way, if we keep going, it becomes a 12% bracket. So that's the first issue. The second issue is the reduction of the senior deduction. And then this third issue is, we keep pushing at, income, long-term cap gains income into from the 0% to the 15% rate. And, so I think this argues for measuring twice, three times before doing a Roth conversion and being conservative. And this is where I tend to disagree with some of the other commentators out there. And I'm disagreeing here for sort of two fundamental reasons, forgetting the math for just a second. The first one is this couple could replicate a $40,000 tax-free Roth conversion for the next 3 years after 2025. So why are they in such a hurry to do massive Roth conversions in 2025? They've got 3 more years of runway on this type of planning. That by itself sort of argues against massive Roth conversions this year. So that's one consideration. A second consideration is the taxation of RMDs. It's not as bad as the commentators have said. And oh, by the way, many Americans are going to start RMDs at age 75. If you're born in the year 1960 or later, you're going to start them at 75. They tend not to produce that large of a distribution vis-a-vis the remainder of your life. For example, the RMD distribution percentage for a 75-year-old is 4.07%. And, I know there's all these debates in the personal finance space. What's a safe withdrawal rate? And, Bill Bengen has his new book out, and he's gone up to 4.7%. I haven't read the book, but that's sort of what's in the ether. So read his book. Don't take my word for it. But that's sort of a general rule of thumb. Think about a 75-year-old. Is it safe for a 75-year-old to take 4.07% out of their retirement account? I would argue yes. Generally speaking, you do you, not giving you advice in this video, but from an academic perspective, that seems pretty safe. So I would say because there's Roth conversion opportunities in year 67, 68, 69, and the back-end taxation of these retirement accounts just isn't as bad as many claim it is, I would argue, yeah, this couple academically should stay with that $40,700 and not trigger tax, even at 23% and certainly not at 28% on additional Roth conversions. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please mash that like button and subscribe to my channel. I will see you next time.